Am I the asshole for refusing to help a friend who didn't invite me to their wedding? For about 11 years now, I've, 37 male, been pretty close with, let's call him John, 38 male. We met at a job in my mid-20s, and were pretty regular company up until the pandemic, where our hanging out, including a circle of mutual friends, had taken a decline but isn't extinct. John and his partner, let's call her Jane, 36 female, have been together for about 8 years now, engaged for a little under 2, both with a child from previous relationships, so they've taken trips with their kids nearly yearly, and I've been happy to help visit John's, now their, home, and check on things, take care of their animals, etc. while they're gone. I've helped them out with other projects and tasks over the years, and most recently picked up Jane from the airport returning from a work trip and got her home this past winter during a snowstorm because my vehicle could handle it. Generally, I have been present and helpful on top of our base friendship. About 5 weeks ago, I find out from a mutual friend that their wedding is coming up and invites went out a while ago. Everyone in our circle got invited but me. As a gay man, I have experienced being iced out of some straight friends' lives and events in ways minor and pronounced, but this one has definitely been something that has had me thinking about my time and energy with people. I decided that I would take the hint and begin to distance myself. 3 days ago, John texts me asking if I'm around in early to mid-August. I say that I am. John asks if I wouldn't mind visiting like I have before to look after the animals and property. I said, sorry, I can't. He calls to talk about it. We run through the same conversation, polite but a bit tense, so I finally say, I just won't be visiting your home. After a moment of silence, I bring up that I'm disappointed that I appear to be the only person in our group of friends not invited to his wedding, and that I can't be helping like I have before if I'm just a background friend at this point. I wrap up the call positively and sincerely, with me wishing them a good wedding and trip, and that maybe we can grab drinks soon. Jane reached out 2 days ago, sending follow-up texts saying that John is upset about what I said, and with her because she made the final calls about friend invites, and that I'm taking this the wrong way. There is only so much capacity, and that the other friends in our friend group have partners that took up space. She adds that she hopes I'll change my mind and help them out because it would put John's mind at ease. I'm not entitled to the company of others or invitations to anybody's events, but am I wrong for setting my own boundaries in response to theirs? I try not to frame my friendships as transactional, but they obviously want something out of me here despite their not inviting me and then avoiding even bringing it up with me until they needed help with covering their honeymoon. In the comments, a deleted user says, "Not the asshole. Jane reaches out 2 days ago, sending up following text saying that John's upset about what I said, yada yada. What a bogus excuse. If your friends need someone to check up on their animals and property when they're on their honeymoon after a wedding that you weren't invited to, they can ask another friend or family member. The audacity of some people just astounds me. I'm a believer in putting the same energy into a friendship as you experience." OP replies, "I don't pretend to be super savvy about wedding etiquette, and I realize every wedding is different and lines have to be drawn about who can come or not. But yeah, my mutual friend reaching out to me to coordinate plans for our friend group during the weekend of the wedding to find out that I wasn't invited definitely stung and felt awkward, and my friend was in disbelief as well." Another deleted commenter says, "You were measured in your response and polite. You wished them well and suggested that you meet for drinks in the future. It should have been the end of it. Miss Thing reached out and asking you to reconsider to put the groom's mind at ease is beggar's belief." Some people are insufferable and completely shameless. She tells OP that John is upset about what OP said, so she hopes that OP will change his mind and help them out because this would put John's mind at ease. Clearly, OP's role in the wedding plan was to take care of their animals. Not the asshole. This sounds like a really one-sided friendship and that they're taking your friendship for granted. Why would you keep putting time and energy into them? OP replies, "Like I said, we've been pretty close up until now, and I've happened to have the ability when they need it often enough where we've been close enough before that I didn't mind or feel taken advantage of. John's helped me as well in the past, and try not to hold other people's lives and familial commitments against them, but I was trying to paint a concise picture, given the character limit, of being, I thought, close. This situation, like I said, definitely changed my perspective given the other friends invited, but I wanted to make sure that I wasn't making their wedding about me. They approached me after excluding me, and so far people seem to agree, which I'm relieved about. Yeah, I really don't know what their plan was. Let's not invite OP because they need to look after our animals during the wedding. That's their wedding job. Let's also not tell them that. And let's just hope that no one else tells them that. And let's hope that OP just never sees anything about the wedding and no one ever mentions it. And then we're going to gaslight him and be like, you really just have to do this, You're making it really hard for us, and what you're experiencing just isn't reality. What do you mean you should have been invited? In what universe were you ever going to be invited? That little world inside your head where you got an invitation to our wedding? That's not happening. That never was going to happen. Obviously, everyone else's mates, partners, are more important, and two men being partners when there's men and woman partners in the rest of the wedding, that's just not on, isn't it? I don't know. If not gaslighting, it's just scummy and manipulative, especially the fiancé reaching out to him. What was that all about? Absolutely not the asshole. And now, on to the update. Yesterday afternoon, a few days after John made the initiating contact that led to this altercation, he reached out by text telling me the following. I want to take you up on that drink tomorrow if possible, and I want to apologize for my royal screw-ups in person. I agreed to meet. After we kicked off with a round of shots, John's first line was that he failed me as a friend in this situation. With non-family invites, Jane apparently seemed very preoccupied with the philosophy of couples over singles at the wedding, and he had previously voiced that he felt it was exclusionary and silly. But I guess Jane prioritized couples on the first round of friend invites and told John that it would be easier to fit in others after receiving RSVPs. John backed out and says that he felt that going along with her initial plan of inviting the rest of our circle, who are, God bless them, coupled up, and not me, and had faith the RSVP thing would materialize. She ended up using the bit of space to plug in some more family. John admitted that he basically folded and felt ashamed enough that he could not find a way to tell me. He knew reaching out to me about the favor was a risk, but he took it anyways because he wanted someone he could trust, and my response was a materialization of everything he feared would happen, and in his words, deservedly so. He told me that a wedding should be a gathering of your family and company who have been a part of your lives and who you want to be a part of your lives, and I fit that bill to him by any measure. He tried to accurately paraphrase, said I've done more than most of the people on the guest list for him and his family over their relationship, including helping making memories with trip coverages and helping build their back deck with him, to sharing meals and hosting events over the last 6 years. He got visibly upset when he said, with the shot and the drinks that we were sipping on kicking in, that he can't believe that Jane even considered holding my single/dating status against me after I got her home safely during a snowstorm earlier this year, and that he did not more adamantly confront that bullshit reasoning the instant that she voiced it. He is even more pissed off for Jane reaching out to me in the manner that she did after my original phone call with him. John acknowledged it would come off as hollow at this point, but after a few exchanges with Jane, said that there would be no more nonsense, and I would at least get a proper invite and a +1 if I wanted, and they would make it work if it was even desired by me at this point. He said he is not going to try to do panicked damage control, but will be upfront with our circle. One has already dropped the wedding, and I guess another couple has said something else by his reporting, like he was with me for his faults, because he and Jane deserve the blowback and he needs to earn trust back, if it's at all possible. He has also made it Jane's problem to find a friend who can come out 9 days in a row to care for the home and pets. With a smirk, he said that she's having a hard time securing it and may likely have to hire help. I told John I really appreciated his owning up to this, and it was good to see the friend that I had shine through here. I told him that I always have appreciated him and Jane's friendship, so it hurt when I was excluded and not even addressed. I felt that close enough anyways, and I obviously don't mean to complicate his wedding, I've always thought him and Jane were great for each other. I mean that earnestly, and I've supported them as best as I can, and I've been confused about what I've done or haven't done to be iced out. I also admitted that it's hard to trust Jane again if she's been weighing the validity of my presence based on my relationship status, and added, with some humor, it's not like I haven't been trying, and you guys haven't met some of my previous long-term partners. He said he doesn't get it either, and she at least has one good friend who is single that she may have burned a bridge with as well over the wedding philosophy she had. I said the friendship is going to be changed and informed by this, at least very different for a while, and I know that you and Jane had a disagreement leading to this, but I hope that the wedding goes on to be a good celebration. I informed him that it feels best to take a pass on the invitation, but he said that if there was a change of mind, up to the last minute, to let him know, which was kind, and he wasn't desperate or pushy about it. John said the fault is his for not stepping up on my behalf, that he is sorry, and while he feels, I wouldn't expect otherwise, and I agree, that he is very lucky to have her in his life and thinks their marriage is a positive development for them, he even told her this whole situation will have him questioning and second-guessing her judgment on social matters with his friends for the foreseeable future. By his reporting, but a credit to their relationship, this was quite a blow to her to hear from him, but one that she accepted and apologized for after their argument or arguments about the subject. Before we parted ways in the parking lot, we gave each other a bro hug, and John's voice broke a bit when he said that he's sorry one last time, and I think mine did too when I forgave him. It was legitimately surprising and therapeutic to have John be so frank and accountable, but not unlike the friend that I've known for most of my adult life. It was bittersweet, being all things considered a makeup, but also a breakup of sorts that was previously an unquestioned and assumed strong trust and camaraderie. Maybe we can get there again. It seems possible, and it would be nice. I'm sitting here after weeks of big feelings, stewing on a different shade of big boy feelings now. Thanks for processing with me, Reddit. A lot of people had good things on the range of the spectrum to share with me, and I've done my best to respond to people without getting too consumed and doing other things that need to be done. I was happy for John to talk to me. Maybe commenters are right, and they see me as something else than I thought we were as friends, and maybe I've got some work to do to assert myself, and that I've been a doormat up to this point. I know I've got some soul-searching to do about me as a person, and how I see myself with John and Jane, and maybe my other friendships as well. This relationship felt a lot closer and authentic in a different time, but it's hard to paint a fuller picture of that after a situation like this. Things change. As tempting as it is to accept the invitation and be there for John, I think I'll trust my instinct to let this be. And if John meant what he said, and if Jane comes around, they will make the effort to follow up. I'll be putting some distance for a while, and time will tell. I'm glad we got a chance to talk, because if it is the end, I feel good about giving him a chance to own it, and as I've gotten older, I appreciate the hard work of taking on uncomfortable stuff. I made some plans for that weekend with a couple of other friends, which I'm looking forward to. I find repeated posts on an initial post a bit messy and tacky, so if anyone wants my thoughts on particulars, just click on my profile and look at my comments and responses. Thanks for words and insights, Reddit. In the comments, I hope that a couple they lovingly invited would get engaged at their wedding. That's my wedding wish for Jane. OP replies, okay, I spit my drink out laughing catching this response. Monday says, don't let John skip out on his responsibility for this. This is not solely Jane's fault. John seems to think that you're the sort of sap who would still do him favors, even though he doesn't treat you like a close friend. Also, you have a list of ways that you've helped John out, but I'd like to see a list of things that he's done to help you out. Is John a user? OP says, we have helped each other out. Another poster said something, I thought valid, about this being framed as transactional because of the help and favors being listed off. I think I may be guilty of being a guy who helps justify his presence in what he can help or do for others on the same tier as my bonds, but John has been a great friend. Well, this hasn't been a good moment for sure. There was a drop in our bond, but I figured a lot of people were going through that since COVID and with his familial obligations. But he's helped me before with rides, and when I've had some low points, making sure that I had friends and company to bounce off of and pick me up. I'll give John credit. He does seem to be trying to hold himself accountable for it because he admits everything that he has done wrong. I'm just curious what people expect OP to do to truly hold John accountable in this situation. For now, I think it's correct that OP should not go to the wedding and should not be doing any more favors for John. And, accepting the apology that he has given, that felt pretty sincere to me. I do think that it is absolutely pathetic of John to let this go on for so long and not say anything to OP. He recognizes that OP is so beneficial for his own life and for Jane's, yet he let Jane walk all over him. He let Jane make those decisions. If he really did feel bad about it, then he would say something, because you're marrying this person. They don't get full say in everything. You're allowed to push back against the person that you're marrying's stupid ideas and suggestions. It's a two-way street, but yet he let her unilaterally make all of these decisions and never pushed back against her once until it was obvious that there was social pressure and everyone else was realizing that those two were pieces of shit. I just don't believe John. I just don't think he was being serious about really feeling bad about it. Because he didn't do anything. His actions are completely the opposite of his words. I don't think that John is a good friend to OP. I do think that John is a user. He's either that, or he's a complete coward that cannot stand up to his partner. I don't think that he's a good person that was just caught up in the moment and everything is going to be good from this point onwards. I don't believe that. And now, onto the next update. Hey everyone. While this was obviously more pressing in the time frame I posted, it's been a while since the wedding, and I've been naturally busy with other things going on in my own life. Not much to share or update about, so I didn't. While I was hurt about the precipitating combo of requested favor but hidden exclusion, but happy that John at least met with me, I didn't expect any quick, easy fixes, and have resolved to let it be and wait for John and Jane to reach out, and that it was even more likely that this friendship was basically over. John reached out a couple of days ago with a text asking if I would be interested in attending a Friendsgiving party that they plan on throwing later this month, insisting that both he and Jane would love to have me, and despite some nervousness revisiting it all out of the blue, I said sure thing. And the latest update 4.5 months later. Hey, I didn't end up going. I said yes at first, but a few months removed from the incident, and despite my innate desire to somehow make it work, anytime I thought about the situation, I was left feeling upset. As I got closer to the Friendsgiving, it became clear to me that showing up at a holiday gathering like that was going to be awkward and performative in nature, even if their intention with the invites were good or coming from the right place. So I avoided it. It felt like the right call. I let John know that I had something else come up, and he voiced some obligatory disappointment, but wished me happy holidays. I haven't received any communication from them since, and I haven't initiated any. It's likely that this may officially be over, but a few busy months in my work and personal life, and some reading and thinking on other matters, has cooled me off and given me some slight perspective changes from where I was at. In the comments, ML Hom says, "This makes me so angry. OP was always a stellar friend and should be proud of himself. Jane is an ass, and John also, for allowing her to ruin a wonderful friendship." I still wonder if it was homophobia. It seems Jane ruined 2 friendships because she didn't want single people at her wedding, and asexual/choosing to be single is not heteronormative, so could be that Jane's just a real see you next Tuesday. Unfortunately, this is the evolution of some friendships. When the partner makes bold moves and the other partner is emotionally unintelligent enough to process what is happening in real time and allows the nonsense to happen. The OP has to be the bigger person and just separate themselves from people like this. Damage done, and there's no coming back to how things were before the slight. I do appreciate the 4.5 month later update. Yeah, I've experienced things like this in my personal life, so I know what it's like. And I know the impact that that has on the other person involved in this situation, which would be OP here. It can come from a place of being too emotionally unintelligent, or, as I feel to be the case, intentional by John. I'm once again not going to give him the benefit of the doubt of being obtuse. I just don't see that being very likely, especially with him not reaching out at any time afterwards to try and fix that bridge. You'd think that if OP was such an amazing and stellar friend and so good for John and Jane, John would be reaching out regularly, trying to make it work and be like, hey, look, I understand how you're feeling. Let's go grab another drink. Let's go make this work together as just you and me, hombre. We don't have to have Jane involved. I realize how bad that was. And yet I'm not seeing that from him. So I find it very hard to believe that, it was him being too emotionally unintelligent and allowing the nonsense to happen. That's just me, though. Feel free to correct me in the comments if you'd like. That's how I feel about the situation. Thank you for the story, OP. I hope you find better friends in the future that treat you better. Our next post is by user Lily24, and it's titled, Am I overreacting? My boyfriend asked me for a paternity test as a joke. Pretty much what the title says. I have a 4-month-old son with my boyfriend who I've been with for a little over 2 years. I'm 21 and he's 26, if that matters. Last night, he worked overtime so he didn't get home until midnight. He gave me a hug and then just randomly asked me if our son was really his. What? Or if we should get him tested to be sure. I was pissed, and I woke up today still pissed. I talked to him about it this morning, and he says that I shouldn't be mad because it wasn't a real question, and it was supposed to be funny. But I'm not laughing, I'm angry. I've never cheated on him before, and I've never given him a reason to think I was, so the whole thing is just really odd. Am I right to be this angry, or am I overreacting here? He swears he didn't mean it, but he hasn't apologized, and if it really was a joke, it wasn't funny at all. Is this enough to leave him over? In the comments, OP in response to a downvoted commenter, if he had asked me 4 months ago just to have it, and it was a real conversation where he explained his reasoning, then why not? I'm more angry because it feels like he thinks that I would have another man's baby and then pass it off as his. Newmum711 says, my husband makes this joke in a self-deprecating type of way, as the baby is too cute, too smart, too social, etc. OP replies, this I get. Sometimes we say, this baby is so cute. How are we his parents? And stuff like that, but this was just straight up, is this kid mine? And it really threw me off. Run It By Me Once says, hate to be that one, but is he possibly projecting? Seems to be a pattern that when they're up to no good, they get in first with accusations. And OP says, I hadn't even thought of this. OP in response to a deleted comment, it's not that I think he's cheating, I just hadn't thought of the possibility that he could be projecting, and that's why he brought it up. It's not really fair though that if he was cheating, I'd have no way to know, but I would still be expected to spend money on a paternity test that I already know the results of. I don't know where that question came from either, and, it's likely that it's projection. I mean, he did work overtime, he didn't get home until midnight, he gave you a hug and then just asked straight away. There's not much context to go with here. I don't know him as a person, I don't know anything else. All I know is he worked late, he came home and straight away asked the question. And then you don't mention anything that happened with him after the fact. How did you respond? What was he like after that? Did he ask this question and then you just passed out? I need more juicy details, please, because he's either insane and just had a momentary lapse of sanity, or he's projecting and he's cheating, or he's just messing with you. He saw a TikTok prank and was like, you should ask for a paternity test and see their reaction. It's gonna be sick. But I don't think you're overreacting here. I think maybe we need to have more of a talk with him and see what's going on. And now, on to the update. Yesterday, I made a post asking if I was overreacting to my boyfriend randomly asking me for a paternity test. And I got a bunch of comments that I meant to reply to, but more happened last night. So I figured I would just post an update here for anyone who was interested. My plan was to just explain to him why I was hurt, and then ask him for his reasoning for asking for the test, and why he waited 4 months to just randomly start questioning if he's my child's father. Or if it was just a joke, like he said, ask him why he thought that would be funny in the first place. I just wanted a real conversation, but what happened was, I told him how hurt and angry I felt, and why, and he threatened to end his own life if I left him. I hadn't even thought to break up with him or said anything about ending the relationship. Oh god, I feel like I'm 15 again. So that's a wrap on that. I'll get him a paternity test if he really wants one, but the relationship is over. I can't be with someone who would try to manipulate me into staying with them like that. The plan right now is to get everything in order for me and my son and start looking for places to live. Thank you to everyone who read the original post and took the time to give me advice. A lot of you thought that he was cheating and projecting, but I don't know if that's the case, and honestly, right now I don't even think I want to know. I appreciate all of the feedback. Sorry this is so long. In the comments, I'm not Paulie D, I promise. You sure about that, buddy? And I'm not Mike the Situation, I promise. That's the right idea. The "I'll kill myself if you break up with me" guys are just awful. It's a little surprising that it took until this point for him to pull this bad behavior. Were there no signs earlier in this relationship? And OP says, there may have been signs that I missed. He's never threatened to harm himself before though. We've had small arguments before, but this behavior is new for him. OP in response to a downvoted comment, at this point, it's not about how I feel about the paternity test thing, it's how I feel about the threats to end his life. Would you want to be with someone who would say that? OP in response to a different downvoted comment, things happen. We knew each other for a long time before we got together. My baby is so loved, he's happy and healthy, and is always my priority. I would rather raise him solo in a safe environment than to stay with a man who would threaten to end his own life in the face of any serious issues. A complete family is only ideal if both parents feel safe, loved, and secure together. My baby will be just fine. What's a complete family and where can I get one? OP on her soon-to-be ex. Despite what he said, I am willing to help ensure that if he really is serious about taking his own life, he gets the help and support that he needs, and still let him see his son. I have no interest in completely shutting him out of our baby's life if he proves that he is mentally stable. Squirrel Girl VA says, I know that people will probably debate the appropriateness of a 17/18-year-old dating a 23 to 24-year-old, but I think we can all agree that this guy was definitely out looking for someone he could manipulate. I really missed the age gap. I actually missed the age gap. Jesus Christ. What's a 23-year-old doing dating a 17-year-old? I'm boggling at someone saying, do testing for every birth regardless of the situation in the first thread. That will honestly solve nothing and will be largely unnecessary for the average pregnancy, since I'd wager the vast majority would be between two monogamous people, regardless if they were trying to or not. I personally wouldn't care if that were a routine part of pregnancy testing or whatever, but it is so low on the priorities list of things to fix in our healthcare system. It's like being starving and demanding 100% organic food or something. Can we do a test for unstable partners that are going to threaten to off themselves as soon as any minor, not even serious, any minor problems arise? Can we do testing for that? We're going to poke them with a series of questions to be like, she's late from work. What's your response, buddy? She has friends that are men. What do you say to that? Things like that. How are we going to get the craziness out of these people's heads as an early detection system? Regardless, wow. I really like the way that OP responded in this update. I really like their approach to this situation. It was just straight away nope, the relationship's done. Not listening to any more of that bullshit. I see the writing on the wall. I'm going to listen to my own intuition and say, you're not getting any chance. You're getting bugger all custody because you're going to damage this child. There is something seriously wrong with you, buddy, and I want nothing to do with it, and I'm getting as far away from you as possible. Didn't even need the help of Reddit. This is something that just popped up and they were just, whoop, ready to go at the drop of a hat. Why couldn't I be born like that? Why do I have to read thousands of very entertaining stories in order to drill that knowledge into my head? Regardless, thank you for the story, OP. I loved that. Thank you. Come back with another update telling us what happened. I need another one. Please, God. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Oh, also, I'm starting up yet another channel with Jack from Markey Industries. So I'll have the first video of that done soon. Just working things out. It's going to be like what I do here, but a podcast. Once a week, hopefully.